Easy Gourmet is sponsored by Liquor Junction of 345 Washington Street in Woburn. Other locations include 1 General Way in Reading, 632 Main Street in Winchester, and 14 McGrath Highway in Somerville. Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. Hillside Florist, located at 888 Main Street in Woburn. And Mooney Dental. Trusted dental care that you and your family can smile about.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Easy Gourmet. I am your chef and host Vinny Felici. Glad to have you in my kitchen today. A couple of easy recipes today. Neither one of them have anything to do with each other, but it always makes it fun that this show can be very eclectic and be all over the place. So our first recipe is easy shepherd's pie. We're going to be sauteing some ground beef, adding some seasoning to it. Layer the whole thing with mashed potatoes. We're going to bake that in the oven. And as I said, easy shepherd's pie. We're not going to get fancy. We're not going to pipe the tomatoes, or we're not going to put waves in them. We're just going to mix everything all together with the ground beef. Put the potatoes on top and mash them. Mashed potatoes on top and just level it off and put that into the oven. And our second recipe today, while that's in the oven, is pasta fagioli. Tube pasta, little tubes with beans. So the slang term for it is pasta fagioli, but that's what we're going to be doing for a second dish. It's basically a soup, a bean soup with little pastas, or ditallinis. So why don't we get started? And first thing is to get our pan hot. We're going to start with the easy shepherd's pie first. We'll get a nice heated pan going. So I have everything pretty much prepared except for onion and garlic. So I want 1 onion into this. Once that pan is heated up, I'm going to throw our ground beef into that. And we're going to be using 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Actually, I do have a little extra. I just may add it all. I have 1.5 pounds and I have a little under 1 pound. This recipe calls for 1.5 pounds, but you can certainly go 2 pounds. And you can alter this. It's called easy shepherd's pie. It is not a recipe where everything has to be measured with measuring spoons and measuring cups. That's the whole idea behind this show. So we just want to get this onion cut up or diced. Doesn't necessarily have to be diced. You could put in just big pieces, but we're just going to dice it up quick. You want to add 2 onions, you could add 2 onions. For about 2 pounds of meat, I like 1 onion, but you can certainly add more. And I have 1 clove of garlic. Oh, I got this little rubber thing I found that was given to me as a gift that came with some other tools, which is pretty nice. As you take the garlic, put it in the middle, and you roll that, and the paper comes off, which is kind of nice. So we just want to chop that up. I just want to get these just a little bit smaller so they'll cook. We're going to be adding some frozen vegetables to this. I have frozen peas and I have a combination of peas and carrots frozen, and I have frozen corn. You could certainly use fresh, or leave those out if you want to. So we're just going to be using 80-20 beef. I just want to get some oil in our pan to get this started. Got about 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil, light olive oil. And I'm just going to use gloves for this as I pull it apart, just to keep things a little cleaner. It just helps with cleanup. It's not really anything. I know most chefs just kind of use their bare hands, but I'm just going to do this just to make it a little easier. We want to get that nice and broken up. So we're going with about 2 pounds of ground beef. You want to make sure your pan was hot to start off so nothing sticks. This is a stainless steel pan. It is not non-stick. So we want to make sure the pan is heated up before we add our meat. And I want to get this slightly brown. We're going to add other ingredients, of course. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt, 1/4 teaspoon, a little bit of black pepper, okay, now I'm going to throw, this is about, I'd say 50 to 60% cooked, but now I want to get my vegetables in. So again, 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 onion and 1 garlic chopped. And I want to get that onion cooked. I want this cranking. As you know, I grill on high, I cook on high, because you want things to sear and cook. You don't want to steam your food. You know, there's not much in here, but it smells good already. Okay, I'm just going to let that cook for a minute. And some of the other ingredients that I want to add to this is going to, let me check my list here just to make sure I have everything. As I'm going to be adding a 1/2 cup of beef broth and a couple of good splashes of Worcestershire sauce. But I want to make sure I get this meat completely browned first. And if there's a lot of liquid in here, if your meat happens to be fattier than advertised, because that happens sometimes, it'll tell you 80-20 or 85-15, and the next thing you know, it's all fat. Sometimes I don't trust those numbers that are on the packages. I'm not saying they try to pull a fast one at the supermarket, I'm just saying they don't always appear right to me. So now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of beef broth. And a couple of good splashes, probably a tablespoon or so. Good tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I'm not going to drain that. I'm going to, actually, do I want to drain it or not? I don't know. Let's see. I think I might have to. There's just a lot of fat in here. And I may re-add the stock, because when we drain it, we're going to lose a lot of that stock I just added. So let me just get rid of some of this fat. It's more than I would like. I'm just going to give it a quick drain. I don't want to lose it all. Okay, I got rid of about half of that. So put that back. Now I'm going to just add my broth again. There just seemed to be a little too much fat. So just another 1/4 cup of broth. Beef broth. You can certainly use chicken if you don't have beef. Where's my, here we go. Okay, that's better. And another splash of Lea and Perrins again, because I did remove some of that during the, there was just a little bit too much liquid in here for me. Okay, I'm just going to lower the heat now, just a little. And I'm going to get our frozen vegetables. Nothing fancy here. These are pound bags, so I'm going to use about half of each bag. We'll just cut this open. I'm going to go with a cup of corn. Normally I wouldn't measure it, but since the cup was next to me, hey, why not? A cup of corn. Maybe just a little more. So a cup and a quarter. Put that to the side. And about a cup and a quarter or so of peas and carrots. If anybody wants to say hello to the Easy Gourmet, it's WPMC, easygourmet@gmail.com. Or visit me on Facebook at the Easy Gourmet Vinnie Felici. So basically I have about, give or take 3 cups of frozen vegetables. You could go all peas and carrots, go all corn, whatever you like, or leave them out. So I want to throw these in here. And that is easy peasy. No pun intended. I'm just going to add a little black pepper here. And you can season this the way you want. You could throw some jalapenos in this. You could really go crazy. You know, some chopped tomatoes. But we're just going to basic, this is your basic recipe, and you can vary from this in any way. So while that was going on, I had our potatoes that are boiled. Let's just check to make sure they're cooked, which they are. So I'm going to drain that. There's 2 pounds of boiled potatoes here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drain those, and I'm just going to put these back on the heat for a minute to dry them. It's nothing really difficult. Just turn that on, back on the heat, and just stir that around, just to get rid of some of that excess water. So we want to mash these, and you can flavor the mash any way you want. I want to shut this down because I think this is cooked enough. Let that sit too already. So basically, what do we put in mashed potatoes? I have some butter. Gonna use like 3 tablespoons of butter, maybe a tablespoon and 2 tablespoons. Well, let's go with that. So we have about 2 tablespoons here, 2 tablespoons. That's 2 pounds of potatoes and a little black pepper, a little salt. You can season these the way you'd like also. You make the mashed potatoes the way you like them. Although we are going to be putting them into the oven. It's going to change the whole state of them. A little black pepper. And I have some milk here. I buy the long shelf milk that can stay on your shelf till you open it. It's milk, it's just not milk that'll deteriorate until the package is open, but shelf-stable milk, they call it. You can use cream here if you want, and just mash those. This milk is actually room temperature. I hadn't had it opened yet, which is kind of good. You don't necessarily want to throw hot, cold milk into hot potatoes. And you want to mash these by hand. Do not use an electric mixer, because then they come real rubbery. I'm just going to put a little olive oil into this, because that's just my little twist. I know people say, what is he doing? Why is he using oil? It's butter only. That's okay. It's easy gourmet. Why isn't he using the potato masher? Because I only have a really big one. I don't have a small one. As we're doing this, we have our oven preheating to 350. And we're going to be putting this whole thing into the oven. So I want to get this into a baking dish. Which just, I'm not really sure if I need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just going to put a little bit of spray into this, just in case things get a little sticky. Okay. And I want to get meat and vegetable mixture into our casserole dish. The reason why, I don't just pour this right out of the pan in here. I know I could do that, and but there's still a lot of liquid in here that I don't really need, and I know I could have not gotten rid of the juice through the colander, but the thing is, I wanted the meat to sear, and if I have too much liquid in here, whether it's fat or broth, all basically we're doing is boiling the meat. We're not frying it. So again, 2 pounds of ground beef. It's actually a little less than 2 pounds. But a good start for this would be 1.5 pounds. But I went about 1.75 pounds. And fry that up with an onion and some garlic. And then you season it the way you want. I used Worcestershire and some beef broth. Let me just put this off to the side. And I just mixed in my frozen vegetables. And again, flavor the mashed potatoes the way you would like. And I'm not going to get really fancy here. Like, if I had a piping bag, I could put little mounds and really make it elegant, but this is supposed to be easy. You could use lamb for this too. You don't have to use ground beef. It's called a mixture of lamb and beef. And I have made this with vegetarian also, with a product called pulled oats. Unfortunately I can't think of the name, but it's a grain product that's made out of oats, and it's not granular. It almost looks like pieces of strip steak, and I've made it with that, and I've served it to people just to test wise, and people could not tell that it wasn't beef. The little granules that are, I guess for lack of a better term, fake meat, you can tell that they're fake. But I couldn't even tell until you can barely tell that these pulled oats, I got them at Whole Foods, that wasn't meat. So you can always make this vegan too if you left out the butter in this and just use a little bit of olive oil. If you wanted to make it vegetarian and vegan, you just leave the butter and just use oil or a coconut butter in your potatoes. Okay, so we got that. And just for a little effect, this is going to be in the oven for about a half hour. And while we're doing that, while that's in the oven, we'll make our soup. So I'm just going to put a little paprika here for color. Once I did this and I didn't have my glasses on, I used cayenne pepper. I didn't even know I didn't use paprika. I didn't mind it though, it was nice. Nobody else would eat it, but it was nice. And that's it. So we're going to toss this into the oven for about a half hour at 350. The potatoes will tighten up, and all the meat and the vegetables will all gel together. And basically, easy shepherd's pie is done. So why don't we take a break for a minute, and I'll get the ingredients out for our pasta dish, our soup pasta dish. See you in a moment. Okay, we are back for pasta fagioli, or as you would say in layman's terms, pasta fazool. And so what we want to do is I found this beautiful, there's 2 ounces here, maybe 2.5 ounces, this beautiful pancetta. Normally you see pancetta in a circle. I was able to find this in Boston flat. Maybe you can get it here locally. One of our Italian grocers may have this. You can use bacon for this, but I don't like the smoky part of, this is cured with salt, but it's not smoked like bacon is. So I think if you could find unsmoked bacon, you may be able to substitute it. But make sure it's like bacon that's really thick. It'll render its fat better, I think. So what I want to do is I want to get a pan started, a pot. Not high, but just get that started. And we just want to, there was some rind on here, so I want to leave the fat on, but that outer rind, I shouldn't have thrown that up. Let me see. So just quickly, if you can see the difference, you can see how white that is. And you can see the outer rind of that. This actually, when this cooks, it does render some fat, but if you eat it, it's very gummy and tough, and it doesn't break down in the fry pan, so I like to get rid of that. So I'm just going to cut this into little 1/4-inch cubes as best that I can. One thing that you should do, actually, I didn't do that, put this in the freezer for 10 or 15 minutes, and it'll cut a little easier. They always tell you to do that, especially like if sometimes if I don't have any hamburger or ground beef home, and to grind my own, I'll put if I have a steak or if I have steak tips, I'll do it in the food processor, but I'll put it in the freezer first, and it grinds better. And always pulse. You always pulse when you're doing something like that. So let's cut this into little cubes. Basically, pancetta is bacon, and everybody knows bacon is the underside of the pig. You can use, which is very popular right now, guanciale, which is the cheeks of the pig. A lot of stores seem to have it now. I've seen it at Whole Foods. It's because they use it on the Food Network, which of course everybody knows those aren't real shows like this show, but they use it on the Food Network, and a lot of the chefs on PBS are using it. And it's become very popular, so now you can find it out in the suburbs. You don't necessarily have to go to Boston to buy it. And it's a little more, I can't say it's flavorful, it's just a different flavor than pancetta. But it is basically a pork product. So we want a little bit of oil here in our pan. I know we're going to render the fat out of this, but we want a little oil to get it started anyway. So we get our pancetta. Just crank that up just a little. I want to hear some shizzle here. And we want a couple of onions with this. Oh, this onion doesn't look that great. Oh, that's bad. That is bad. So we have another onion. I don't know what happened to that onion. I had it stored properly in case anybody's wondering. But now and then that happens. That's one thing that I've been doing since COVID. It's like you have to check dates and everything. You have to check your produce. And the other day I bought onions on Saturday. This is Wednesday today, by the way. And I squeezed every onion. And I must have missed that one. It's just, things aren't the way they were. So you just got to be a little more, when you're shopping, you have to be a little more conscious today. Or unconscious, one or the other. We'll get this into our pan. Actually, I might want to lower this just a little, because I don't want to sear those. I want the fat to render. And I had another onion here. Here we go. Oops, get back here. Just want to check how long has that been in there. About 8 minutes already, the shepherd's pie. And I got a couple of cloves of garlic. I'm going to go back to our trusty rubber cylinder here. What's nice about when you use this, what I've noticed is, like, normally you see me on the show here, is I'll take the garlic and I'll crush it and the paper will come off. With this, it doesn't crush, so you have it's a little more like itself without paper, but it doesn't really matter. A little bit in a hurry here because I don't want our we don't want our pancetta to burn. Get that in there. It's not burning, so stir that up. I'm going to lower this just a little. Okay. Now I want to get our carrot in there. I have 1 carrot, actually three carrots cut up into little cubes, and 3 stalks of celery cut up into small pieces. I want to throw that in. And just get this mixed up. I want to saute this just a little more before I add just a little bit of stock. But I want to get some sear on these vegetables from the fat that's rendering from the pancetta. And you know what I might do just for a little flavor, added flavor? I'm just going to add a little extra virgin olive oil from Rome that a friend of mine in Rome gave me. Just a little. Just for a little added extra flavor here. Normally I don't fry in oil. I wouldn't start off the dish with this, but it's okay to add now because there's enough fat rendered from the pork that it's not going to burn. I'm going to be using cannellini beans. Cannellini beans, I mean. So what we want to do first, should open the can. And I want 1 can pulsed here in the food processor. I'm going to rinse these off. I'm just going to a little bit of chicken stock to help this pulse, and I want to get like a paste. I want this to be pasty. So just a little bit of chicken. This is my own homemade chicken stock. I always buy chicken breast with the bone in, split breasts, and I save those bones and make stock. That's about a 1/4 cup of stock. I prefer pulsing rather than just leaving it on because it generates, as I said, it's just friction here and it just generates a lot of heat. Not a lot, but a little bit of heat. Especially if you're grinding herbs like basil. The basil, it'll bruise the basil. So that's good for now. I'm just going to leave this on hold for a moment. Let's make a little space here. I'm going to be adding this to the soup as a thickener. I have a little bit of paste here. I'm going to use about 2 or 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. What the heck here? Could be. Could be. Thank you from the audience. Thank you, Lauren. Okay. I just have some cheat notes here. I just want to make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. And don't say Woburn. People, I don't know why they would think this would happen. When you throw paste into about 4 quarts of sauce, it doesn't necessarily thicken it. Thickening that sauce is by boiling it or simmering it, and all the water and the tomatoes evaporate, and you're going to have left is concentrate. This is really, to me, a flavor additive. And the thing is, it's raw tomatoes. And I'm going to use a couple of tablespoons of this, and it needs to be cooked. So I'm just going to cook it here in its own. The juices that are in here from the vegetable mirepoix and the pork. I want to cook that a little bit, because to me, if you add this to the broth that we're going to be generating here, all I can taste, or my senses tell me that there's raw tomatoes in this, and I don't want that. So I'm going to add a little more, I'm not even sure if I added it yet, only because I've been talking so much and cutting, but I'm going to add a little black pepper at this point. And a little, just a very little salt, because that pancetta is salty, probably a 1/4 teaspoon. And I've built up some font here. I've built up that font at the bottom. And I'm gonna add 4 cups of chicken stock to this. Actually, I might add 5 cups. That's my chicken stock. All the stock here depends on how much ditalini or tortellini that you want to add. Now I've added, what I have is I have a cup of tubatini or ditalini, whatever you want to call it. And so for each cup of pasta would be 4 cups of water. So I have maybe, where is my pasta here? I think I have about 1.25 cups here, so I'm just going to add a little more, only because I have it, a little more chicken broth. About another 1/2 cup. Because I think when I was measuring it today, I was a little heavy-handed, so I have probably 1.25 to 1.5 cups. So right now, what I'm going to do is I have our ground cannellini beans, or how do we pronounce that? Yeah, cannellini beans. And I'm going to add that to our soup. And these are 15.5-ounce can of washed and then ground in a food processor. And that's going to thicken up the soup. Not thick as in gravy thickness, but kind of give it some body instead of just liquid. Okay. Now we have that going, and we're going to put our pasta in, which again is about 1.25 to 1.5 cups of ditalini. And I still have our 1 can left over, not left over, 1 can to add of these beans, the next can of cannellini beans, but I want to add those whole. But I want to rinse these off. That water in there is kind of starchy, and where we're not pre-boiling our pasta first, we're just throwing that into the soup, we're going to get the excess starch from that, and we don't want to add more starch from these beans. What I do like about this brand, I don't know if you can see this, a lot of brands when you buy beans like this, see how clear that is? I really like that. So you can see I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but the liquid's very clear. Sometimes when you buy beans, even some of the best brand beans, the liquid is murky and cloudy. But this is really clear, which I kind of like that. I don't know if it really helps anything, but it just seems natural. So we're going to get rid of that. I'm just going to rinse those quickly. And I'm going to toss that into our soup. And I'm going to lower the heat on the side burner here, because these burners are a little smaller, and I just want this to cook very slowly with the cover. Let me stir it first. You could add some parsley, fresh parsley to this. Maybe we'll add it at the end. Oh, one thing I do want to add to this beforehand is a couple of tablespoons, just to give it a little extra kick, a couple of tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. And that's to your liking. You can just add whatever you like. Don't add too much, it'll be really, really salty. So that was a good table. This is a teaspoon that I use, so probably a little less than a tablespoon. So now, you want to leave this for about 10 to 15 minutes till that pasta cooks, and our soup will be ready. In the meantime, let's just toss this in back here. I think my intern called in sick today, so I'm going to have to clean up all these dishes myself. No, I don't have an intern. Let's see. What do we have? Oh, so we have our wine today, which is Dona Paula. It's from Dona Paula Estate. It's a Malbec. And if you've been watching the show religiously, like some people have, that recently I've kind of had this Argentinian kick, and I stumbled upon this from, Liquor Junction actually recommended it, but they recommended a few other ones which I've already had on the show, but I stumbled on this one on myself, and I did get this at Liquor Junction, but this is something that had a nice rating to it. It was in the 90s, so I said I'll give it a try on the show. And as always, I do not read the label, well, besides the front label, I don't read the back label until the show. I don't know if you all believe me. Jen and Laura, I have a trustworthy face, right, Lauren? Yeah. Oh, I can smell the oak already. Just having it open, I can smell oak. To all my viewers of the Easy Gourmet, wow, it's very nice. It's not extremely fruity, but there's lots of oak tones to it, which for me is a little unusual in a Malbec. So what do they have? Let's see. It has black fruits, intense color, spices, and very firm tannins, which it does. There's some bite to it. And it recommends that you have it with very hearty dishes, including beef. Well, we're having ground beef, right? It's close enough. Again, if you want to say hello to the Easy Gourmet, it's Easy Gourmet at WPMC, easygourmet@gmail.com. Or say hello to me on Facebook at the Easy Gourmet, Vinnie Felici. I think we're going to just take a little bit of a break here so I can get this tornado cleaned up, and then our first dish, our easy shepherd's pie, should be ready, and then our soup probably will follow that, and then we can let everybody go today. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Oh, so since we have a couple of minutes, and we have about, let's see, I don't know, 8 or 9 minutes before I want to take the easy shepherd's pie out, I'm just going to make something quick that I had at a restaurant. So I'm going to get my trusty grill pan, and I'm going to make a little bit of, hopefully this comes out right, because I've made it twice, and the second time it came out lousy. The first time was good. I have how do you pronounce it? Halloumi cheese. And it's a combination of, I think there's some goat's milk and some, yes, it's sheep, goat, and cow. So it's a trifecta of cheeses. So what I want to do is it's a dense cheese too. So I'm going to just cut a few rectangles here. I'm heating up a grill pan now. Sometimes, like I say, sometimes I can do it right and sometimes I can't. Maybe we'll have to cut this segment out of the show if it doesn't work. No, I'm only kidding. So who puts it out? A company called Dodoni. We'll just get rid of the end piece here. So I'm going to put a little bit of, I put a little bit of oil in here yet. A little bit of oil. I'm going to put this cheese in this pan. Put this on. You know how I hate it, but I got to have it on. Get rid of some of this smoke. And what they do is if it comes out right, they serve it with a little bit of honey. Let's see how our wine is doing, if it breathed a little bit, or did it breathe? Wow, that's good. Oh yeah. No, I meant the crisscross. There's a restaurant I went to. I won't mention the name. But the food was delicious, but I just got a little antsy about all the employees feeding you. That's the type of restaurant that it was. Running around in between tables. I found it like trying to eat a sandwich during a fire drill. But they did have this as an appetizer that they went around and had little, about half this size, that they went around to your table and put it onto your dish, and it was actually rather nice. Look at that, beautiful. Always serve the good side to your guests. And all they did was, they just put a little bit of, pretty sure they didn't use teddy bear honey, but who knows? And they just had a little bit of honey. And that's all they did. And that was an appetizer at this place, this little, I think it's Argentinian restaurant. I think the food on the swords, so I'm not sure what that's all about, but I think I would rather, you can get weighted on there. You don't have to. You don't have to get the MBTA traffic stop. Very good. Can you hear that? It's very squeaky. Just quickly before I take that out, you know me, I'm not one on buying new gadgets. I mean, I got this as a gift, but it's pretty nice. It's been very useful. But I did get this as a gift also, is a kitchen scale. And it's really came in handy. I didn't think I'm using it more than I thought I would. Especially if I'm increasing recipes slightly. And it gives you really it does weight, and it weighs, it has special settings for liquid weight, solid weight, and some other things. It's in grams also, and it's milliliters and all that. So it's actually a nice tool. And actually, you know, when you're doing baking, they actually say you should weigh your ingredients instead of measuring with a measuring cup, because they're always different. So let's take our shepherd's pie. Wow, that looks beautiful. I'm just going to throw some just a little color on this. Actually, our soup should be ready too. I'm going to taste that pasta just to make sure, but I bet you it's fine. That's all you want to do is cook that till the pasta cooks. It's right on. Right on. Okay. And our halloumi cheese. That's not really was part of the show. I just thought to kill a few minutes, so I'm going to actually to brighten this up. Well, okay, they're both very hot, and for these to cool down, I think we'd be here another 15 to 20 minutes. So believe me, you will not go wrong with these easy comfort recipes that I've made on today's show. I want to thank Lauren and Jen for doing the cameras today. And I also want to thank, who do I want to thank? I want to thank Gibson Sotheby's Realty. I want to thank Liquor Junction, 4 locations, Woburn, Winchester, Reading, Somerville. Mooney Dental, thank you for being a sponsor on our show. And last but not least, Mr. Charles Hardy of Hillside Florist, 888 Main Street here in Woburn. I want to thank all you people for helping make this show possible. And how we end our show, as usually we do, is I just want to, again, thank everybody for being here in my kitchen, and good health and good cooking. We'll see you next time on the Easy Gourmet.
Easy Gourmet is sponsored by Liquor Junction of 345 Washington Street in Woburn. Other locations include 1 General Way in Reading, 632 Main Street in Winchester, and 14 McGrath Highway in Somerville. Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. Hillside Florist, located at 888 Main Street in Woburn. And Mooney Dental. Trusted dental care that you and your family can smile about.